have yet another record high coming in for the Dow, and it's looking very good. In fact, for the US markets right now for the past couple of days, in fact, the US stock futures have also hovered near the flat line yesterday evening after the Dow closed at a record for the second time this week. Now, during regular trading Wednesday, the blue chip Dow advanced 0.8%. The S&P 500 also rose roughly 0.5%, and you had the nasdaq that also added 0.3%. So overall, it was a winning day across indices for Wall Street. Now, aluminium producer Alcoa jumped nearly 6% in extended trading after posting adjusted earnings that topped expectations. Transport stock CSX, however, fell almost 4% on disappointing results. Morgan Stanley stock was also up 6.5% on the back of good earnings, and we'll tell you more about these earnings in detail later in the show as well. Now, corporate earnings are set to continue with insurance company Travelers, alternative asset manager Blackstone, and health insurer Elevance Health slated to report numbers this morning, and regional banks Key Corp, M&T Bank as well as Truist Financial are also on the deck. But on the economic front, traders will be looking towards weekly jobless claims and September's retail sales due today, and industrial and manufacturing production data are also due over the course of the trading day today. So lots to watch out for, in fact, when it comes to Wall Street today, when it comes to the US markets in terms of all of these macroeconomic indicators. Let's quickly also take a look at what the 10-year yield is doing, and currently at 4.034. The 10-year treasury yield wavered slightly yesterday as bond traders digested the latest comments coming in from the Fed Reserve officials this week. But well, yes, the 10-year treasury has slipped more than 2 bits, but below that, around that 4.014 level. 2-year treasury yield was last at 3.931, declining 2 bips as well. So that is what largely the US markets are looking like. Let's just shift focus to the European markets and take a look at what they have done, and largely looking mixed, in fact, because on one hand you have DAX that was lower 0.3%, but you have FTSE that was up 1%, so very strong move coming in on FTSE also yesterday, and overall stock 600 index down 0.2%. So largely this is what the US and the European markets are looking like. But on that note, Shreyanshi, also take us through what commodities are up to and tell us what's been happening with oil.
Well, absolutely. Like you mentioned about the US Treasury yields, and that's just something that gold is largely looking at. But firstly, let's take a look at US crude oil futures, because they edged lower to close below $71 per barrel after selling off steeply in the previous session on reports that Israel will not attack Iran's oil facilities. Now, the US benchmark tumbled more than 4% after Israel told the US that it will limit its retaliatory strikes to military targets in Iran. And that was the word coming in from senior Biden administration officials, at least according to reports. And crude oil prices, of course, have given up most of their gains made in the wake of Iran's October 1st ballistic missile attack on Israel, as fears of an oil supply disruption in the Middle East have eased, and that is something that we've seen being reflected in prices as well. So when you take a look at WTI, you're looking at a downtick coming in of about 19 cents or 0.3% there, about $70 per barrel is where that one was at, lower than $71 per barrel. Like I mentioned earlier, year to date, that contract has also fallen nearly 2%. When you take a look at Brent as well, you're looking at $74 per barrel levels, so downtick of about just 3 cents, just a tad bit coming in there as well. And year to date, that contract has also declined more than 3%. So those are the kind of moves that we've seen coming in for WTI as well as Brent. Like I mentioned, though, gold advanced towards record highs as gains in non-yielding bullion were also bolstered by weakness in US bond yields that we've just covered earlier, and expected rate cuts by major central banks also was something that were adding a little bit of support, along with additional safe haven support coming in from ongoing geopolitical conflicts. So when you take a look at price levels coming in for gold, you're looking at an uptick of about 0.6%, but inching close at least to those record high levels is where gold was at, Sneh.
There comes a time when your heart calls for you to arise. Plant your feet solid into the ground. Decide your own limits. And then break right through them. Become something more. It's my time to rise.
Hyundai Motor India Limited now proposes an initial public offering of its equity shares. The 100% book-built offer is being offered at a price band of Rs 1,865 to Rs 1,960 per equity share of face value of Rs 10 each. The anchor investor offer period opens and closes on Monday, October 14th, 2024. Offer opens on Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. Offer closes on Thursday, October 17th, 2024. For risk involved and other details, please refer to the red herring prospectus, which is available on the website of the company, SEBI, BRLMs and the stock exchanges.